Hi, this is Dean Miller back with another video on the significance of the life of Jesus. This is where Jesus is still on the Sermon on the Mount. He teaches us about anger. It'll be Matthew 5:21 through 26 in the New Living Testament. Jesus teaches about anger. You have heard that our ancestors were told, you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say, if you are even angry at someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you're in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you're in danger of the fires of hell. So if you're presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple, and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person, then come and offer your sacrifice to God. When you are on the way to court with your adversary, settle your differences quickly. Otherwise, your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and you will hand you over to the officer, and then you'll be thrown into prison. And if that happens, you surely won't be free again until you have paid the last penny. So we get into the murder part. You must not murder. If you commit murder, you're subject to judgment. But I say, even if you're angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. So when Jesus says in here, but I say, he's adding his own beliefs, but he's given us a full understanding on why God made the law. By hearing it directly from the source of the truth. Jesus was the source. He was the truth. When he says, but I say, he's telling you exactly what it means. It's not by someone else's interpretation. You should never get mad enough to ever commit murder, because even if you think of it, you already have it in your heart. And it's the same as self-control. Anger and self-control can go hand in hand. If you have that tendency to think about murder, and when you keep doing it, eventually you may act upon it. That's what makes it bad. So it's best to just keep it out of your heart and keep it out of your mind. The Pharisees read this law as not murdering someone physically, and they felt like they'd obeyed it because they never personally murdered anybody. But they got mad enough at Jesus and plotted his own death. But they didn't feel like they were responsible because they didn't murder him. They put it on the Romans and Pontius Pilate. So they felt like they weren't responsible for his murder. Killing is a sin, but anger also can lead to sin because it violates one of God's commandments to love. Anger is a seething and brooding bitterness against someone, and when you get angry, it leaps out of control. Things will escalate. You can't control yourself. You can't rationalize. You can't restrain yourself, and then you end up doing things or saying things that actually you can't take back, and things will escalate into a bad situation when you get angry. The best thing to do is just kind of stop yourself, calm yourself down before you do things that you regret later. And being angry can lead to violence, it can lead to fights, murder, property damage. That's what you see today in these streets where people are mad about, angry over things that are going on. They're out there doing property damaging, they're actually murdering people, they're fighting against people, they're going against their own families. And then anger also can lead to emotional hurt. You say things you don't mean, and it makes you look like a fool sometimes. Sometimes when you get angry, you start accusing things or saying things that, and find out later that you jumped the gun and you weren't right about what you were trying to talk about. It increases mental stress. It raises your blood pressure, your ability to think rationally. You lose focus on important things, and you get taken over by revenge. And it also causes spiritual damage. It keeps us from having a spirit pleasing to God. Especially if you say harmful words, cutting harmful words to someone else, it can kill their spirit. It can kill them spiritually, and it makes you look like a non-Christian. People look down on you and they point you out to others, like, "Hey, look at that guy over there. He goes to church every Sunday and he's doing this and acting like that." That's why I don't go. And that's one of the biggest things that makes you look like a hypocrite. Have you ever been proud that you didn't strike out against someone when something was really on your mind? I know I have. I know there's been several instances where people made me so mad that, I wanted to get in a fight with them or say something out of the way, but a lot of times I restrain myself, and I feel a lot better later that I didn't do it. Because self control is good. Jesus had self control. He was probably the greatest. Well, he was the greatest ever with self control. He controlled everything he did. But here's one of my favorite books in the Bible is James, and he has a lot of good points he brings up. And this is James 3:2-6. It says, "Indeed, we all make many mistakes, for we could control our tongues, we would be perfect, and we could also control ourselves in every other way. We can make a large horse go wherever we want by the means of small bits in his mouth, and a small rudder makes a huge ship turn whenever the pilot chooses to go, even though the winds are strong. In the same way, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire, and a tongue is a flame of fire. It's the whole world of wickedness, corrupting your entire body. It can set your whole life on fire, for it's set on fire by hell itself." And that's the truth. A lot of times we run our mouths and we say things and we do things that get ourselves in a lot of trouble. I mean, a lot of times we'd be better off if we couldn't talk at all. It's like that country western song said, "You say it best when you say nothing at all." And that's true. A lot of times, a lot of the arguments you say or a lot of things you say with your mouth leads to your spiritual demise or even physical demise or even your demise here on earth where you could get put in prison, or it just makes your whole life harder. And then another one in Proverbs 18:7 says, "The mouth of fools are their ruin. They trap themselves with their lips." They what they say and what they do, it traps themselves, their words. And that happens every day. I'm one of the biggest ones guilty of doing that. A lot of times I try to just keep my mouth shut. Sometimes it's too hard, but we'd be better off if we do. And anger also causes broken relationships with friends, siblings, parents, coworkers, kids, and neighbors. It says in the Bible, if you have something, suddenly remember that you have something against you, leave your sacrifice at the altar and go reconcile to that person, and then come back and offer to God. So it's pretty much as, how can God forgive you when you can't forgive someone else? It can that's the way it hinders your relationship with God, because anger causes hatred. But like he said, how can I forgive you if you can't forgive someone else? So the best thing to do is go back to that person and try to resolve it as soon as possible. A lot of times too, if you dwell on an issue, it can cause you to overthink things, and it causes you to build up more animosity towards that person. So if you can get it resolved right away, maybe you can be better friends or get along better and not let it escalate into something a lot worse than it could be. And then if we claim to love God and hate others, that puts us as being a hypocrite. You can't claim to say, "Oh, I'm a Christian and I love God," but then go around hating other people. It just don't look right. And then our attitudes reflect our relationship with God. If you notice the people out there that have little faith, how they act, a lot of them don't like anybody. They don't even like themselves. The first thing in getting spiritually healed is reading the Bible and getting close to God. When you get close to God, you realize that He made you the way you are for a reason, and you need to love other people and love yourself. Don't try to change who you are. Just try to be a better person and try to fix the things that are causing you problems. And then it says in there, things are easier to settle out of court than to let a judge decide your fate. Don't go to court and let a judge decide what's going to happen to you. Try to fix it. If you and that person can settle your differences, then you don't have to worry about putting your hands in somebody else. It's just like spiritually. If you settle your differences here on earth, it's going to be a lot easier when you go in front of that big stage in front of God when He does your judgment. Then you know that you can say to Him, "Hey, I forgave them on earth. Could you please forgive me for what I did?" And don't let your difference determine your afterlife prosperity. Settle them down, and then there is no doubt. If you settle them now, there is no doubt that what's going to happen in later. You don't have to worry about going to court. You don't have to worry about God judging you. And then here on earth, if you don't settle now, you have a chance to get thrown in prison. And spiritually, when you die, you have a chance to go to hell for eternity. Nobody wants to go there. And then here's another good one is Proverbs 25, 8 through 10. Just because you've seen something, don't be in a hurry to go to court. For what you do in the end, if your neighbor deals you a shameful defeat. When arguing with your neighbor, don't betray another person's secret. Others may accuse you of gossip, and then you'll never regain your good reputation. So don't go to court and make up stories or lie on somebody, because it could turn back against you. And then when you ruin that reputation, when people know that you're not a good person and you are dishonest and deceitful, it's hard for people to ever give you that trust again. Once you break trust with somebody, it's hard to get it back. And here's another good guideline to live on is in Proverbs 17:13. If you repay good with evil, evil will never leave your house. If you go looking for evil, you're going to find evil. If you go looking for good, you're going to find good. Just remember that. It's a good thing to live by. Uh, that's about all I got for anger. Like I said, comment on this video if you will. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like my YouTube channel video. I also had a trivia last week that no one answered, but I'd like to see if somebody could name 2 people in the Bible that went to heaven without dying. And then I'll give you a shout out on my YouTube channel and my Facebook channel. So I am a member of the Crestview Baptist Church. Josh does a service on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. We do a service at the church. He does it live on Facebook on Crestview Baptist Church. He also does it on Wednesday night at 7. And we also do church Wednesday night at 7. And he does a Facebook live on Sunday night at 6 p.m. I'm looking forward to doing a video next week. Thank you for listening. And I appreciate everybody that listens to these videos. And hopefully I can get the word out and people share these videos and we can get more people to start getting closer to God. Thank you. Amen.